Now remember when I shared that story about the filmmaker who doubted whether curses were real? Where he set out to meet witches and warlocks and actually asked them to place curses on him? Well, he did another interview and shared what happened to him since, and I think this should serve as a very good warning to everyone out there to never ever ever do something so stupid like this ever again. Let me just play this one first for a little bit and then the other interview after. Liam is a British-born director and cinematographer, shooting documentaries, features, and commercial projects around the world. And he did something very stupid, and that something stupid is what I want to share with you in this video.
Okay, so Accursed Man is a documentary film based on the idea of what would happen if you willingly allowed someone to put a curse on you. And that's exactly what I did. I traveled around the world trying to find authentic magical practitioners to see if they would put a curse on me. I think I go into it as a skeptic. To a degree, an open-minded skeptic, I would say. I think I've always been fascinated by this world. But I go into it with a skeptical point of view, and I think my viewpoint has changed quite a bit having done this. But I really didn't think if I went looking for a curse, something really terrible was going to happen to me. I didn't really believe other people have this power and ability to be able to do anything to me. So, I felt like I was probably pretty safe, and it would be a fascinating journey. I think as I went along, things changed and the story got a bit darker.
And that was from the video I shared with you several months ago. So now listen to this clip from another interview he did.
Do enter into what turned out to be a blood pact with Satan. I had to petition, I had to write what I wanted to happen. And I had to petition that to Satan and then bring it upon myself. So at this point, I'm now really, really cursing myself. The previous one was a charm given to me by someone else.
Right.
But this one was me really asking for it. And that's where we get into that psychology again. Now I've really brought this onto myself. So whether it is Satan doing what Satan likes to do, or whether or not it's me doing it to myself, I'm deep in this now. And definitely life began to get a lot harder.
And this is exactly why I disagree with people who have a problem with exorcists doing interviews and warning the general public about the enemy's plans. Sure, we don't want to give the devil any more spotlight than he deserves, but we can't forget there are so many people out there who aren't Catholic or don't even have any faith background at all, and they're doing exactly the things the exorcists warn us about. This recent interview of Father Ripperger, for example, some people are unhappy that he's even talking about this subject. But let's go back to Liam the filmmaker. Would you rather they try what he did or actually heed the warnings from exorcists through interviews like this? But try and relate to what Father Ripperger said about the pacts with the devil and what Liam said earlier.
I'm deep in this now. And definitely life began to get a lot harder.
But does it work in the short term? I mean, does it, so the trade is in Haiti, in Africa, here, Santeria. Yeah. The trade is I pledge allegiance to a demon, and in exchange, I receive power or wealth.
Right.
Does that work?
So the technical term for that is a pact. You enter into a pact with a demon, right?
Yes.
No, a pact is a form of contract. And there's certain aspects of a contract. And so one of the aspects of a contract is there has to be a guarantee that you can fulfill the terms of the contract. Like, for example, if you enter into a contract for some guy to mow your lawn, but he doesn't even own a lawnmower and he's never going to bother buying one, well, then he can't fulfill the terms of the contract. The problem with the demons is because they're subject completely to Christ and cannot do anything unless he allows it, they can't guarantee they can fulfill the terms of the contract. So what that basically means is that because of the disordered act of entering into the pact, you can still become subject to them, but they may or may not be able to deliver on their side of the contract. So I've had a case of possession, or more than one, but where they entered into a pact with the devil and the devil couldn't give them anything. But the person ended up possessed as a result of entering into that
and
pact.
Destroyed.
Fortunately, these people climbed out of it because they actually sought the help and did what they needed to do in order to become liberated from the diabolic influence. But a lot of people just become destroyed. There are times, however, though, that God will allow the demons to fulfill the terms of the contract. Now, what most people think is that they think, oh, well, the demon's doing what I'm asking him to do, but what they don't realize is each individual time he does what they ask, they become more subject to him. And it becomes harder and harder to get out from underneath that subjection.
They're accruing debt.
Exactly.
And some people are even deceived into believing that making pacts with the devil won't harm them at all. Take this, for example.
Has my life gotten worse since making a pact with Lucifer? Actually, no, it's been quite the opposite, in fact. I know people are going to get on here and say, oh, you're flying high now, but just wait, your big fall is coming. I've had more big falls in my life since I was 4 years old than I care to even mention. So instead, here's some things that I've noticed has changed in my life and within my personal self since making the pact with Lucifer. I now work for myself rather than report to a boss every day. And so I get to choose when I work. I get to choose if I get a day off. And I ultimately have freedom and sovereignty over my time and money. Number 2 is I've radically started healing my wounded inner child. And that has not only done wonders for my confidence and my success, but it has made me a better human being all around. And not only a better human being, but a more powerful human being. Number 3, I see humanity in a different light. I find humans to be far more beautiful than I did before. I see people for who they are, even beneath the traumas, and I see the reasons they act the way they act. I see the way society runs and operates, and has caused a lot of empathy, and I feel a lot of emotions toward that, whereas before I was just cold and completely shut off, and I had a lot of bitterness towards a lot of people. I've started facing a lot of my deepest fears, and I've started putting boundaries in place and actually enforcing those boundaries with other people, whereas before it wasn't quite there. I've always been the type that will light myself on fire to keep others warm, and I have learned that that is no way to live. It's actually detrimental to the soul. Is my life better? Is my life worse? I don't really care. All I know is that it's working for me.
So again, after listening to this man who's deceived by the devil, do you seriously have any issues with exorcists making public appearances and giving interviews? And I know for a fact that there are a lot more like this guy out there who needs proper guidance, prayers, our sacrifices for their conversion. Now, I'd also like to share this clip with you of our friend Brian and Father Iannuzzi, and I think it's very relevant to the subject we're covering in this video. Listen to this.
Considering with the events that are going on in the world and things are becoming worse over time, do you have any advice or guidance or anything like that for new parents that you would recommend that they should be privy?
New parents.
Yes.
Well, they're going to be facing challenges raising new children because the children will be exposed from the very get-go to a woke culture and education in whatever public school system they go to. And it's going to put a strain on the parents to keep them away from that. So they have to be mindful, number one, where the enemy is, so as to avoid the enemy's lair. Number two, they have to strengthen themselves and their children with spiritual weapons, because they're going to have to go out into the world with being of the world and not be corrupted by it. So they have to be trained in daily prayer. And this is where the family should get together, pray the rosary together, read the Bible together. This is healthy practice. This was done back in the 50s, in the 60s when I grew up with my family in the 60s. We would read the Bible together and do the rosary together. And this is where the seeds of the faith are sown for all the person's life. So that's what they should do, start establishing now, while the children are very pliable, very impressionable, what is essential in life, and that is your immortal soul. And you should take very good care of it by praying every day, having a daily prayer life, and learning about why you're here, to love, serve God in this life and be happy with Him in the next. And then go with the children to Mass every Sunday, set a good example for them. Equip yourself also with sacramentals like the brown scapular that guarantees eternal salvation, like the miraculous medal that protects you spiritually and physically, and introduce them little by little to these treasure troves that the grace extends to all its faithful, like indulgences, divine mercy, church indulgences, and the power of the Eucharist, the gift of living in the divine will. So there's a lot there to deal with little by little, but because they're children, they're new parents, they have to do it on their level, progressively, but consistently, and not to give a hoot about what other people think in public. If they want to pray in public before they have their meals, do it. Don't be afraid. What did Pope John Paul II say? he said, and he knew he was bringing the church to the threshold of the third millennium of Christianity. He said, "Do not be afraid to follow Jesus Christ." So do not be afraid to follow Jesus Christ. So do your sign of the cross in public. Who cares what other people think? In fact, that's what they need to see, because everyone's doing all bad things in public. It's time they saw something good and hopeful. And that's just one little thing, just making a sign of the cross. But do your prayers and be proud to carry your faith around in public and live an integral life. Preach what you live. Yeah.
Now, just before we wrap up this video, let's revisit that clip of Liam one more time. This can never be stressed enough, how incredibly stupid the whole thing was, and why we must always remind people who the real enemy is, because he and his demons will keep misleading and deceiving the masses.
So, eventually I go back to the original people that I found on my journey to look for magic, and I went back to them to ask for some help. Hey, I needed to get out of this. I needed to undo this. And one of the things they said to me was, A, you're an idiot. B, what you've done is actually really dangerous. And they were genuinely concerned they would not be able to undo it.
Right.
And they said the words that I wrote in that pact with Satan was so powerful, and the words themselves are the bind, and the words themselves are the intention. And if I share that with the world, we're undoing their work to try and undo it. So they said, look, you need to keep that to yourself, because we don't want that being in this kind of spiritual echo chamber that hasn't gone away. And so it was important that they said to me, do not show that letter. So the compromise was to blur out the exact kind of desire I had put down, dark desire, I would say. And so, so I am keeping that to myself. And again, look, if I was 100% skeptical, I'd be comfortable to say, hey, I asked for this and it doesn't matter. I'm not going to take any chances now, honestly. I'd rather not.
You still have the note, or didn't they get torn up and burned?
Yeah, so as part of the ritual that they performed, we destroyed it. Yeah,
right. Now, what most people think is that they think, oh, well, the demon's doing what I'm asking him to do, but what they don't realize is each individual time he does what they ask, they become more subject to him, and it becomes harder and harder to get out from underneath that subjection.
They're accruing debt.
Exactly.
The devil wants all of us, you and myself, to be miserable. He wants us to wallow in a real self-hatred and to be really unhappy and miserable. For example, we had a woman who sadly was possessed, although she's fine now, but she was possessed, and whenever she experienced a moment of happiness or upbeat feeling of joy, the demons would move in and assault her, because they did not want her to be happy. Why? Fundamentally, it's because Satan himself is miserable. And underneath his narcissism is this enormous self-hatred. And that's how misery and self-hatred and the demons can't stand joy and happiness. That's not what they run from it, and they want us to be like themselves. And sometimes people think, well, that's Christianity too, this miserable, negative existence. Nothing can be further from the truth. Of course, the cross is a central figure in our religion, of course, and there are times of fasting. But ultimately, at root, Jesus spoke of his joy, that my joy might be yours, and your joy might be full. Peace I leave with you, my peace I give to you. One of the great saints said, God save us from these sour-faced saints. There are no sour-faced saints. Joy is a sign of the Holy Spirit's presence and the true life of Christianity. So, by the way, and one of the assignments I give to the possessed or the afflicted by demonically afflicted, which is one of the most difficult assignments I give them, I say, I want you to go out and do something fun every day. Just something little. Go for a walk, read a book, talk to a friend, something that you enjoy. And many times they have a very difficult time doing it. It's quite striking. So self-hatred and misery come from hell. joy and peace come from the Lord. So your assignment today, I want you to, when you finish this, I want you to do something fun, something that's enjoyable, restful, relaxing, and then to give thanks to God. Lord, thank you for this time of rest and peace. Now, you might have a very busy life, so it could be just something small, but just a sign that something that you enjoy. And try to do a little something every day.
Well, that is all for the video this time. Again, thank you so much for taking a little bit of your time to be here with us. Always remember that if ever you have any feedback or suggestion, please don't ever hesitate to let us know in the comments below.